We are about to begin. We are so blessed to have you with us this afternoon and are excited about what's going to happen as it relates to this webinar. But let me give a few ground rules, if I may. First, my name is Hebrew Dixon. I'm the project director for the Mid-South Atlantic Transportation Resource Training Center. And we're just blessed to be on a team with Joe Jackson, our executive director, and Miss Beth Barner, our project coordinator. But as you begin to engage this conference, our goal is this. We want you to be able to take in everything that was given, right? We want you to understand where that adds value in your life, because we know that it will. But more importantly, we want you to think about the 3 or 4 or 5 degrees of relationships that you have and see how this can add value to their lives as well. We are just so excited about the new push that this administration has for women in transportation. We're excited about what's going to happen in 22. Not going to tell you right now, but we're excited what's going to happen in 2022 as relates to this effort. So we want to just again welcome you on behalf of our team in Atlanta. We service Georgia, South Carolina, and Tennessee. We're part of a nationwide network that encompasses 11 other centers across the country. So we are all in one accord as far as our passion and commitment for this. So we're excited about what's going to happen again this afternoon. Let's go with the agenda, Ms. Beth. And there we have it. So you see what we're going to cover this afternoon. We're going to have some information as far as an overview on the WITI program. We're going to give some introduction to our amazing presenters. I've known these ladies, most of them, for a long time, and they're amazing ladies and they're amazing human beings, and they've got something to say this afternoon. And this is going to be an opportunity for you to engage. So we don't want you to just sit back and listen, right? We want you to sit back and engage. So if you hear something that gives you some kind of I need to ask a question feeling, then please, by all means, just put that in the chat, raise your hand, and you can get acknowledged and you can be able to ask that question throughout the process. This is an engaging process that we want to have with you. We think that's a better way to have some value add as far as what you get out of this conference. And lastly, what I'll share with you today is that, again, as I mentioned before, if you see where these seeds are in some really fertile soil, begin to add some water, begin to share the good message that's going to come to you this afternoon. Understand that you may know it may be your daughter, it may be your niece, maybe an aunt. It may be someone that's not related to you, but you have a relationship with. You see that person, a young lady that's in the business of learning and trying to grow, and perhaps they want a career in the transportation industry. So these ladies of South Carolina have been doing this for quite a long time. They do amazing work. And without any further delay, we're going to go ahead with the rest of the agenda. Have a great conference. Ms. Beth, you're on mute.
The history of WITI, as it appears here, is WITI was established on March the 11th, 2009. The president signed an executive order and established the White House Council of Women and Girls. And in support of the initiative, in September the 21st in 2009, the U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Ray LaHood, announced the pilot entrepreneur training and technical assistance Women and Girls program. And then in 2012, the program was changed in order to reflect the inclusion of broader focused areas, such as the private partnerships and business development training and resources. WITI's mission is to increase the participation of women in the transportation industry and prepare young women to become our nation's future leaders. The goals of the WITI program are to identify, educate, attract, and retain women and girls in the transportation industry. The program includes outreach, partnerships, business development training, WITI advisory committee, and the transportation internship resources. Our speakers today will be Ms. Pamela Foster, Civil Rights Officer at the Federal Highway Administration, South Carolina Division. Ms. Jordan Riley, Alternative Delivery Project Manager, South Carolina Department of Transportation, and Dr. Arlene Prince, Director of Regulatory Compliance and Civil Rights Officer at the COMET, that's Central Midlands Regional Transit Authority. These are our speakers, and we begin with them covering their careers in the transportation industry. Ms. Pamela Foster will go first.
Thank you, Beth. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pamela Foster. I am the Civil Rights Officer for the Federal Highway Administration of the South Carolina Division Office. I'm excited to be a part of this panel with two other women in transportation that I admire very much as leaders. I will start with a brief overview of my background. And as I talk and address the topic for the first discussion about how I got started in transportation, I will give more biographical information about myself. I have a bachelor's degree in economics from Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina, and a master's degree in business administration from Webster University out of St. Louis, Missouri. Some of my previous jobs have included being an investigator for the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. I've worked for 3 different urban leagues as an accountant, a program manager, and I have been an adjunct professor for 2 local colleges. And I've served as a business development specialist under a U.S. Department of Commerce contract with a consultant. I've also worked for South Carolina Department of Transportation, and now, of course, I'm with the Federal Highway Administration. As for my career in transportation and how I got started, I have to reflect back on my previous jobs that I just spoke to. It was a combination of those positions and my degrees that led me into transportation. These work experiences helped me to understand myself by knowing what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do as a career. It helped me to understand that my focus needed to be on what I thought would make me happy in work. I started my career 37 years ago in transportation when I was in a position to relocate back to South Carolina from Virginia in the mid-1980s. I had previously worked, as I said, as an accountant, an investigator, an adjunct professor, a program manager, and a business development specialist. In my position as a business development specialist, I was supporting Department of Transportation clients. These experiences confirmed what my passion for work was. I knew I liked working in transportation, and I knew that I did not want to compromise my belief system. My belief system was that of helping people. And I was also an advocate for human rights and for civil rights for other people. So I realized that liking the work I was doing with the DOT clients that I was servicing gave me happiness and satisfaction. So that was personal for me. But so I needed to feed that passion. I also knew that I had another 30 years to work, because at that time I was about 30 years old. So I decided that I was not going to apply for any positions that did not feed my passion and allowed me to help other people. And I wanted to work in transportation. So of course, I went to South Carolina Department of Transportation's job listings and found that they had a position for a civil rights compliance manager. I said, that job has my name on it. I applied for it and I got it. So I started my civil rights, my transportation career then. I worked for SCDOT for about 11 years. Later, I got to the point, I need something else. I couldn't excel anymore at SCDOT. I then went back to school, earned my master's degree, and I opened a home interior design business so I could develop my small business skills. I started with Federal Highway shortly after that as an equal opportunity specialist in the Atlanta Regional Office. And 3 years later, I was transferred back to South Carolina and started working in the division office as their civil rights officer. And I've been there now for 26 years. In summary, I've worked in transportation related positions for 11 years, which prepared me for my 37-year career in transportation with the state and the federal government. And it gave me a seat at the table. For many years, I was the only woman in many of our meetings, and sometimes the first woman. So it opened doors for me, and I hope what I've done in transportation has opened many doors for other women. Thank you.
Are you ready for me, Beth? Thank you for having me on this panel. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joy Riley, and I work with the South Carolina Department of Transportation. And I'm very honored to be on this panel with these two amazing ladies who have a little more experience than me, and have definitely, Ms. Foster has taught me a lot in the last 5 years as we've worked closely on a big project together. So, you know, my career path, I actually didn't start out in transportation. I graduated with an engineering degree and really was focused on the environmental field of work in my early career. So I started out, you know, working in public service, doing environmental work. But I've always kind of been driven to work in a job where I can make a difference. I think it was just more environmental focused early on in my career. And I got the opportunity to start my own small business. You know, when my children were small, and I was able to do environmental consulting, and that was a great experience. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. But I did have a couple of friends who had come over to work for DOT from the environmental field, and just talked about how much they loved it, and that it really gave them an opportunity to expand their skills. You know, environmental is a big part of pretty much any type of engineering. No matter what it is, you've always got environmental components to everything you do. And so obviously at DOT, environmental was a big component. And that was a skill that I could bring and transfer over into this field. And I saw a lot of growth potential at DOT. And so I switched about 15 years into my career. I switched over to DOT, and I actually came in DOT as a temporary position. And it was when the economy was, you know, in a recession back in the 2008, 2009 timeframe. And, you know, just really fell in love with it. You know, I didn't realize when I took the job that, you know, I was going to be working on projects that really did touch the lives of every person in our state and every person who traveled through our state. And it, you know, there was an opportunity here to really make a difference. And again, you know, like many of the other ladies in this profession, you know, a lot of times I was the only woman in the room, and, you know, I saw that there was potential also to sort of be part of a change in the industry as far as, you know, ensuring that more women moved up in our agency. And you know, our teams actually looked more representative of the communities that we were serving. So I started my career, came in as a, kind of had to start at the bottom a little bit, but came in and as an engineer one, managing projects, working with a lot of local government agencies, and just started to learn and build my skill set on this side of the house. And moved up pretty quickly and became a lead project manager about 4 or 5 years in. Was an assistant project manager for the first 4 or 5 years, but got my own projects. And really for the last 7, 8 years, I've been a lead project manager. And, you know, for the last 4 years, I've been working on the I-526, a major interstate project, which represents the largest DOT infrastructure investment that this DOT has ever done. So that's I take that as an accomplishment because most of my counterparts are men. And so I'm very proud that, it's sometimes hard to compete when you're one of the few women in the group. That's a testament to DOT's confidence in my skills and abilities, and just have had a great career experience here with SCDOT.
Okay, we'll go to our next speaker, Miss Dr. Arlene Prince.
Okay, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. And I just want to thank Ms. Bonner and Mr. Dixon for the invitation to serve and participate in this panel. And I'm just honored to be a panelist with the other two awesome women that you have heard from earlier. Now, in terms of talking about my career in transportation, I first want to say is that I know of no other industry because I have spent all my entire life working in transportation. And I'm kind of like going to go and share, have information on the screen that kind of like gives you an indication as to what I have done over the years. But I have spent over 35 years in the transportation industry. I started with the South Carolina Department of Transportation, and I worked in highways as well as transit. And I'm currently serving, working at a local transit agency with the Central Midlands Regional Transit Authority, which is also known as the COMET. But when I think back to how I really got started, I think it was probably even before I was even thinking about transportation, but I started as a student school bus driver. And this was during the time I was around 16 years old. And one thing I realized during this time frame is that of all the years I was in school, I never received a perfect attendance until I drove a school bus. This was something that I thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed transporting my peers back and forth home, and safety was of concern to me. So I wanted to make sure that I did everything in a safe manner. But I really, really enjoyed driving a school bus. And that was kind of like the start of my career. And I also learned a little bit about being an entrepreneur because I would receive money for driving the school bus. So I had a chance to, I'll say that I subbed out work to family members and to my neighbors to help ensure that my bus was always clean and well kept. But from there, when I started college, I was the type of person who loved working with numbers. So I majored in mathematics and I minored in computer science, but I also had a chance to focus on electives or courses that would help me once I graduated from college. So I selected courses in the engineering and the business curriculum. And those were the areas that really helped me once I graduated from college. But prior to college, I have a bullet here said networking. So in terms of getting my first job, I started networking because I saw that was very important. So I kept in contact with my professors. So they informed me when there was an opening, and they shared with me about an opening at SCDOT, and it was for a planner position. So my first job was in the engineering division at SCDOT as a planner. And during that time, I was the only female. The only other females that were around me were the ones that were in administrative positions. But that was a good opportunity. I got along well with everyone. I used opportunities to do extra work over if I needed to, and I continued to grow. So I started advancing. When I moved to the position of Planner 2 and Planner 3, I was in another division. I moved over to public transportation. That was a new area that was added to the Department of Transportation during that time frame. And the agency was called South Carolina Department of Highways and Public Transportation. But from those positions, I enjoyed those positions, got along well with everyone. And then there was an opportunity for I have on here grants coordinator. Well, that was the person who worked with all the monies of the grants that came into the agency for public transportation. And because I had a background in working with numbers, I wanted to kind of like do something more related to numbers. And so I applied for a position as a grants coordinator. And from there was an opening later. Once my supervisor she left, and there was another position that was created called grants administrator. So the director at the time asked me to serve as the grants administrator on a temporary basis. So I stayed in that position for a year. And after a year of being in that position, I had an opportunity to apply for the position, and I ended up getting it. So that was my first management position as the grants administrator for the agency. From there, new positions were created. I moved to the position of Assistant Director for Public Transportation. And from there was another position as a Deputy Director for Public Transportation. And at that time, my boss, who was a male, he had left the agency. And at that time, the executive director for the agency was a female, and she was the first female for the agency. And she took advantage of opportunity to promote and advance women. So I became the first female deputy director for public transportation at the agency. And I stayed in that position for a number of years. And then there was an opportunity for me to move to another position, which is a deputy position, deputy director for executive support. And in this position, I had a chance to work with various support services for the agency, such as the HR department, staff development and training, legal, internal audits, civil rights. So I had a chance to continue to grow and do my networking. And as I spent so many years in transportation at the South Carolina Department of Transportation, after I put in so many years, I had an opportunity to retire and to look at other opportunities within the agency in transportation. So I moved on to the COMET, and that's where I'm currently working. So that was a position available for compliance and civil rights officer. So I wanted an opportunity to continue to work in the transportation industry. And that was an area where I had worked with several programs, and I had a chance to go in and use my skills to help others. And from there, I was elevated to director for regulatory compliance and civil rights officer, and that's a position that I'm serving in now. But one of the things I want to share throughout my career, I learned that you have to continue to develop from a personal and professional development. And those are things I continue to take advantage of. And in the area of transportation, there were several leadership programs that I participated in. I continued to take advantage of opportunities at the state level as well as the national level. And also the Federal Transit Administration had an opportunity for individuals to travel to the Netherlands and Germany. And I was one of the ones, it was 13 that they had selected at time nationwide. And I was one of 13 that was selected to attend the Netherlands and Germany to learn more about transportation in European cities. And this was a wonderful opportunity. And I was so glad that I had an opportunity to participate and be selected. But my career in terms of transportation has been wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I encourage everyone to take advantage of it as well.
Okay. Next, we'll go with the next topic is careers in the transportation industry. What opportunities are ahead, and Miss Pamela Foster will speak about the DOT student programs.
Okay, thank you. As you know, there are a number of different careers when it comes to transportation. It is voluminous. There on the screen, you will see a list of programs that persons can take advantage of through the federal, through the USDOT, United States Department of Transportation programs that are open to students if you're interested in entering into the USDOT as a career choice for transportation. And it's a number of them there, so we're not going to go through them, but that information is going to be provided by Beth to all participants today so that you can click on any of those links so that you can read about them and take advantage of those that you're interested in. And that's not just for students. If you look down where it says at the bottom, the Washington Center, those are other programs in transportation, and there's a link that's not really, if you scroll up a little bit, you can scroll down some, you can see that there is a link there as well, so that you can see other programs that's open to adults beyond students, student ages. There are a number of programs. When you look at transportation, we offer positions in almost anything imaginable. 1 in every 6 job in the United States is a career in transportation or related to transportation. We have people working at Federal Highway, from accountants to security to equipment operators to IT, engineering, construction workers, management, business.
Mhm.
I mean, I cannot think social work. I mean, almost any background that you have, law, anything you can think of just about relates one way or the other. Human resources, equal employment opportunities, almost anything you can think of. There is a job in transportation that's related to your interests. I never would have thought that civil rights was a job in transportation until I actually started working in it. Almost anything, real estate, almost anything you can think of touches transportation. So if you were to click on some of these links, you would be surprised to know that there are jobs, or there is one waiting for you. And I would recommend to anyone to explore these links and see if there's something there that can help you to move into these programs. A lot of these are pathway programs. So if you have never had an experience that you think would qualify you for a position, you'd be surprised to know how you can work your way from one point to the next to advance into a position in transportation. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because the information is there. But I encourage anyone to take advantage of this information.
All right. Next, we will have Ms. Joy Riley speaking about her opportunities at South Carolina Department of Transportation.
Thanks, Beth. Similar to what Pam's talking about, I mean, the State Department of Transportation, you know, has similar types of jobs, very far reaching, pretty much encompasses everything that you can think of. I tried to put most of them on the screen, but we just really have so many, you know, different fields that work here. I think biologists and archaeologists and scientists is probably one that surprises people, but because of all the environmental work we do, you know, we really do have a big team of specialists in that area. And of course, you know, most people think about the engineers, the mechanics, the maintenance workers, construction workers. A lot of people think that's what DOT is, and a large majority of us are, you know, in that technical category. But we also have project managers, project coordinators, people that are really good with people and just getting things done. Computer IT is a big component. The SHEP incident responders that drive they're similar to tow trucks. You see them out on the interstates. So even folks that are good with people and cars and helping stranded motorists. Planners like Dr. Prince talked about that really go into the strategic planning of this agency and what we do. And that can be anything from, you know, our internal forces in HR to strategic planning statewide of how to utilize transportation resources efficiently. Finance professionals, we have a lot of folks that do that. We have to manage that money and those expenditures. Human resource professionals, administrative professionals, and really have a lot of different, when I say administrative professionals, I mean, you can even go up to executive assistant, which is a very high paying job. So, you know, there's a career path for everybody that is not just at the bottom, but that you can work your way up to throughout your career. Right-of-way agents, real estate appraisals, the folks that go out and talk to folks when we need to buy land for projects. And actually real estate appraisers is an area where we really need more diversity. Some of these key positions like right-of-way agents, real estate appraisals, project managers, engineers, the folks that are out in the field and are dealing with folks day to day, those are areas where the agency is very focused on making sure we have diversity, because when we deal with the public, you know, likes to see that there are people that look like them in the agency that they can talk to and relate to. And so we want to reflect the communities that we serve. Public relations and communications is an area that has really grown over the years. So that's an area that we focus a lot more attention on. We've realized, I think, over the last decade that communicating what we're doing is extremely important. and doing that well. And so we've brought in professionals to help us do that. And we use a lot of consultants as well. Of course, attorneys and paralegals and folks within that legal realm. I did add the link down here, but if you just Google South Carolina state jobs, you'll be able to go in there and really search jobs for any state agency, but you can filter them if you're specifically interested in DOT. I would tell you that right now, really over the last few years, we've had a major exodus of retirees that have moved out of the agency over the last 4 or 5 years. And so there are just a lot of opportunities. And when you look at a job posting and you say, well, I might have a few of these skills, but I don't know if I meet all these, apply anyway. Let me tell you, because right now, we may have 3 or 4 people that apply for a job. And so we're really looking for those those applicants that have transferable skills, that they can bring from other, other careers and maybe come into this field. They're looking for a new field, or, just, a lot of entry-level jobs as well for folks. And I'll also mention our internship program, which is a huge program for us, and we maximize the utilization of that. So we hire interns every summer. I think if you're I think you can qualify if you're a senior in high school and are 18 years old. And then of course, during college, a lot of folks come and experience the transportation industry that way. Those are really good paying jobs. And the way we do our interns is we don't work them real hard. It's really more of a learning experience. So we really try to, when we hire interns and bring them in, let them see everything that DOT does and sort of experience it. So for younger folks, that's just a really great way to get, a summer job, or sometimes we even have interns during the school year for the local colleges here. So it's just a great way to get, I think they get paid up to like $14, $15 an hour. So it's a great paying job for a student, and also just give you that experience of seeing what DOT does. Because once you kind of experience the family atmosphere we have here in this agency, and then also just the impact that some of our, pretty much every position here has such an impact on the state of South Carolina. And you can see how, you can impact daily lives and make things safer for people. That really affects people's lives. It just really, that's the selling point when it comes to careers in transportation.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Joy. Dr. Prince.
Okay, as Pamela and Joy stated earlier, there are so many opportunities available in the transportation industry, and they touched more on some of the positions, I guess, or that will be on the highway side. So I kind of want to share some areas in transit. And of course, this is not everything. Some of the same ones that were mentioned earlier for highways were also needed on the would be needed in the transit industry as well. But I just want to mention a few because transit still operates as a business. So there are just so many opportunities that are available. Of course, you still need someone to handle your finance, your money that's coming in. So you need people with that particular background, procurement, marketing and public relations. And of course, in the planning area. On the transit side, the plan is more tied to coming up with bus routes and different things like that. So that's where you would need planners in that particular area. And of course, for compliance oversight, monies that are coming in, you're receiving monies at the state and federal level. So you have to have individuals in place that can ensure that the monies are being spent in accordance with the regulations. So compliance oversight is very important to have someone experienced in those particular areas. And then policy development. And of course, with all agencies, of course, human resources is needed, and equal employment opportunity. And some of the areas that part of the civil rights area, as Ms. Foster stated earlier, how she worked in civil rights, and that's an area where I worked in as well. But Title VI is another area that's needed. And the next one I have on here is ADA, American with Disabilities Act. And I mentioned civil rights earlier. And one of the things that we do at the Comet is that we sub out a lot of our delivery of our transportation services. So we use a contractor, and of course, they are individuals who are needed in facility and fleet maintenance. And then safety is a key component. So that's another area. And of course, with drug and alcohol programs, you want to make sure that the individuals who are operating and providing your services are not impacted by drug and alcohol. So you need to have individuals who have experience in those particular areas. And then mobility management is another area where we're looking at access, making sure that all individuals have an opportunity to rely or utilize transportation. So mobility management is another area where careers are needed. But these are just a few of the areas. But like I say, there's a wide array, and these are just a few that I want to share with you. But the opportunities are very unlimited when it comes to transportation.
And Miss Dr. Prince, the existing careers there at the Comet.
Okay, and this slide, I just want to share, I had an opportunity to just focus on some of the current opportunities of current positions that are at the Comet. So I kind of list some of these. And of course, the first one I mentioned, of course, is the executive director or the chief executive officer. That's a position that's a career that someone could strive to attain. And of course, we have a director of administration and operations, our chief financial officer, our director of finance. Of course, we always need accountants. We have a director of marketing and community affairs and our information officer. And of course, the next one is the position I'm currently in as director of regulatory compliance and the civil rights officer. We have a grants and regional coordination manager. And of course, we're always looking for someone that will be responsible for our procurement. So we have a procurement compliance specialist manager. And this is one position that's currently open. And we also have transportation planner. And this is a position that we'll be looking to hire someone to fill. Then we also have a customer experience coordinator. And this is the person who's currently working with the public a lot in terms of the information coming in and channeling them to the correct person within the agency. And I mentioned earlier how we use a contractor to deliver our public transportation services. So and in some agencies, in some transit agencies, they have these positions within, they handle these within their own operations. They do not hire a contractor or consultant to handle these positions, but there's a general manager, an operations manager, some of the agencies, and we currently have a safety and training coordinator and a manager. There's also other opportunities would be for maintenance supervisor and manager, facility managers, mobility management coordinator, and of course, all agencies are utilizing technology. So I have here an information technology coordinator or manager, but these are just some of the existing positions that are currently with the Comet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Next, we will have the discussion on why should women consider a career in the transportation industry. Ms. Joy.
Thanks, Beth. I like to show this picture that, when I started working here at DOT, right when you walk in the door, you walk by this wall of the state highway engineers. And as an engineer and a female, when I started working here at DOT, there were no women on that wall. It was really all just white men. So that was one thing that always caught my attention when I first started working here. And now we do have, our first state highway engineer that was a female, which is Miss Christy Hall, who is now currently our Secretary of Transportation or leadership, the top leader of our agency. So a lot of changes, are happening, and it's an exciting time to be in the transportation field. I think, there's a big push from really a lot of the transportation related agencies, and even down to the DOTs and the local, transportation agencies, to really create a workforce that's representative of the communities we serve. really we facilitate transportation mobility for everyone. And so it's really important that we have that perspective that goes into those decisions that we make here. And again, you know, it touches the lives of everybody. So it's a really important thing. And, you know, there's a big emphasis also on equity. We had a big change here in South Carolina with a complete streets directive that our Secretary Hall passed in the last year. And that was really big for equity because a lot of our spending in the past was focused on highways. And now we're really focused on making sure that we create equity in all our projects, because we understand that not, you know, every person in the public has all the transportation alternatives as a choice available to them. Some, utilize transit primarily. Some utilize walking and biking to get where they need to go. And so it's important that we focus on all those modes of transportation when we're, distributing our resources to projects and developing projects. And we really just need more women and really more diversity across the board in order to create that equity. I can tell you from experience, when you're the only minority in the room in a team, very similarly, folks with similar backgrounds, it's very difficult to be that person that has the one dissenting opinion because your perspective is different and everybody else has a similar perspective. And it's much easier when there's 2 or 3 people in the room, and we can usually get, to more success in the projects we create. You can go to the next slide. I do want to just a couple of things that I've learned in my career is that, take advantage of every opportunity, ask for opportunities. So, if you come in and work with really any transportation business or agency, ask to be able to take those training programs, to be included in the leadership programs. Make sure you're taking advantage of everything that's available at your agency. And then also I'm also involved with WTS, which is Women's Transportation Seminar Organization. Organizations like WTS and COMPTO are great professional organizations. And really, once I got involved in those organizations, you make connections and you learn, and the professional development that's offered through those organizations. A lot of the opportunities when you work in a male-dominated field, are not necessarily available to you if you don't play golf or you don't go to the skeet shoot or do some of those things that are really male-oriented. So these organizations really create those opportunities that really speak to women and to minorities who are entering this field. And I will point out that memberships are free for students. So it's a fantastic time to get in. If you're a student and you want to just learn more about transportation, a lot of the opportunities, technical seminars and programs and events are either free or at a very reduced cost for students. If there's a meal served, and you can really learn a lot and make connections and help advance your career that way. And also just for, small businesses or DVEs, this is also a great connection. I've had met a lot of women over the last few years that, I met one in particular who I said, marketing and communications is a big thing for DOTs now. Owned a small business and was doing marketing and communications and really thought, well, there's really no place for me in the transportation industry. I said, oh, yes, there is. There's definitely a place for you in the transportation industry. So, even small businesses that join organizations like this can make connections with some of the larger firms and get those opportunities to work on transportation projects from a private sector side, or even get on contracts here, at the public sector. So really these organizations I can't say enough about how key they are in helping you make connections in the industry as a whole. I'll just leave it by saying that, we need more women in this industry. We need more diversity overall. I've worked on a lot of different teams, and the team I previously worked on was very diverse, and just the synergy and you know, I just felt like we had a great success with that. So now I'm currently have kind of moved up a little bit, and I'm now currently the only woman, the only minority on my team now. And so I can really, it kind of, I can see the difference. I can really feel the difference. So there's still a lot of work to do. You know, getting into the business, I think it's a very exciting time to be a woman in transportation. Because the climate is very right now to everyone's interested in equity and diversity. And so it's really a good opportunity to make a difference and to kind of pave the way for folks that are coming behind, because, you know, it's not only get more diversity in the pipeline, but it's also making sure that as we move up through the agency, there's diversity all the way to the top. And so that's something that we're real focused on. Thank you so much.
Great, Ms. Joy. And then we'll have Ms. Dr. Prince speaking.
Okay, I just want to share in terms that says why choose a career in transportation. And I think Joy has mentioned some of the reasons already, but it's an excellent opportunity or industry for growth. And I have stated earlier that I have only been in one industry, and that's the transportation industry. And even when I thought that I was going to lead the transportation industry, there were always opportunities for me to continue to move ahead or to still move into other positions in the transportation industry. So when I thought I was going to leave, I ended up staying because of the opportunities and the growth that was available for me to advance to another level. And of course, there are excellent networking opportunities, as mentioned earlier by Joy. Even at the state and the regional level, various conferences where you can get a chance to meet other peers, and you have a chance to talk about some of the issues surrounding transportation. And also I have on here, I listed several professional organizations. Some have been mentioned already, but AASHTO is the American Association for State Highway and Transportation Officials. That is an excellent opportunity to meet others. APTA is APTA is the American Public Transit Association. Another opportunities for those that are more tied to our transit. And CTAA is the Community Transportation Association of America. COMPTO, I think Joy mentioned it earlier, the Conference on Minority and Transportation Official. And of course, I have here, I listed Women in Transportation. Just wanted to share that as well. But there are several professional opportunities or organizations that are available for you to engage in more networking opportunities. And also a career in transportation, I think is wonderful because of some of the excellent benefits, such as you have your insurances, your health insurances, your paid leave, your holidays, professional development opportunities. And in some areas, you also have an opportunity to telecommute, and there's also tuition assistance. In terms of jobs availability, of course, in transportation, the field is so broad. You can work at the local level, you can work at the state level, and even at the federal level. So there are just so many possibilities. And also there are jobs available at private for-profit agencies and nonprofit agencies. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I traveled to the Netherlands and to Germany. So there are jobs there for people in the transportation industry. So it's not only in the United States. And then there are just so many opportunities for training to continue to develop, and opportunities for women to move ahead and to ensure that there's a seat at the table. But I have enjoyed the transportation industry. As I stated earlier, I've been in this field for more than 35 years. And I have been talking to others, have encouraged others, especially those that are in school or still in college, and encourage individuals to consider a career in transportation. And some of those have taken advantage of those opportunities. But it's something that I will say that I don't have any regrets. But right. I think that a career in transportation is very wonderful, especially for women.
Great. Ms. Foster, would you want to wrap it up and say anything about this topic?
Yes, I will try not to be redundant to what has been said by Joy or Arlene, but I will say, repeat that there is a job for you in transportation because 1 in every 6 is related to transportation. Right now is the perfect timing for considering a job in transportation because our current administration has placed a number of presidential executive orders on equity, inclusion, and diversity. So this is the perfect time for women to consider a career in transportation. The time is now for us to think about how can we now have a seat at the table without a threat to be at the table. And you should be thinking about a secure career. Transportation touches everything we do in our lives, whether it's trying to get to a game, trying to get to the movies, trying to get a lung to the hospital just in time for a transplant, whatever you try to do, you can't do it without transportation. You can't plan your family reunion without it. Everything we do touches transportation. It is such a secure industry to be in. A lot of times we get in jobs that can be replaced by technology, be replaced by something else. Transportation is needed by everybody. We cannot push a button and be from here to New York without being on some piece of transportation to get there. You might have choices, and that's a good thing. You can ride by bus, rail, train, plane, doesn't matter, but that's transportation. Somebody has to get you there. It's a very secure industry to choose for a career. It pays very well as well. And you have choices as to how you're going to get that. So I think it's a very secure area. And there was a time when women just didn't get into transportation. Now that the door is open and the timing is perfect because of these executive orders on equity, inclusion, and diversity, this is the perfect time to get on board. Also, it offers a lot of opportunity for us to effect and make decisions as to what's going to happen in our lives. We've depended on men to make all of the decisions all these years. It's our time, ladies. Let's get there. Let's not let other people make decisions for us all the time, everything. When they are making decisions about what the road is going to look like in your neighborhood and whether a road is even going to be there, we need to be at that table to help make those decisions. We need to be at the table. We need to be uncomfortable. It's okay. It's okay to make others uncomfortable. It's our time. I think it's very important that we decide that we need to be challenged. And in challenging ourselves, we have to challenge other people. It's that time. It's time for us to step up to the plate, be about the change, blaze that trail. It's okay, dare to be different. That's what we've done. And that's why we were asked to be on this panel. So it's your time. The time is now. Let's do it, ladies. We are so underrepresented in the transportation industry. Be represented, be a part of it. It's our time, let's do it. Men have outnumbered us in these positions for so long, in the key positions. We might can sit there and serve as their executive assistants, but let's be the executive. It's our time. Come on, bring it. Let's do it. Have a different perspective. Come on, let's change the outcome of what happens in our communities with our children, grandchildren, great-great-grands. Let's make that difference now. It's our time. So I encourage all women, consider transportation. It's a great industry. 1 in every 6 jobs is related to transportation. It's one for you. Go get it. Thank you.
Great, 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 great. That was wonderful. And we questions and answers. We have some questions now that were typed in and also in the chat. Mr. Terrence Jackson asked about, is this webinar for women? And I, how did I answer that? I did answer that it is open to all.
It is open to all, but let's be clear. Let's say it loud and proud. It's focused on women.
Women,
right?
yes.
So this webinar, the opportunities for pipeline for young women and girls to get into this transportation industry. So absolutely, it's focused on women.
And I said we are promoting females in the transportation industry. And
yes.
And I said he will be versed on opportunities, ability to get contact information from the respective agencies, and become able to develop females. So he said, great.
Yeah. So, you know, I guess a challenge to that gentleman is that he probably knows 5, 6, 7, 8 women that could probably benefit from the conversation that was provided on this afternoon. We will definitely want to make some connection points. So my brother, if you have folks that you see some value in this dialogue, maybe your daughter, maybe your niece, like I said before, share it. Let's not be passive about it. Let's be active and aggressive.
Okay. The next question was, Mr. Jackson also stated, with the passing of the new infrastructure bill, what opportunity will be available for box trucks?
Well, you know, that's a huge question, right? So yes, I was going to give some dialogue before we got off this webinar about this amazing transportation bill. So as all the panelists said, it was an exclamation point was added by Miss Foster. You know, it's all on the table. This is probably the most investment in transportation that we've seen in our lifetime. And I'm gonna tell you, quite frankly, in South Carolina particularly, if we didn't have the transportation bill, there's projects that's the largest in our lifetime in South Carolina right now, right? And it's not necessarily a new phenomenon. You go up 85, you see that's being widened. You go to low country, you see that's being worked on. You go to other areas, you see the planning. I used to be in Florida, Daniel, in another lifetime. We were working on the Conway bypass way many years ago. So it's always been something exciting in South Carolina. So yes, long answer to your question, but we want to make sure that you know that it's wide open, but the door is open, but the steps are yours, right? So you just got to go in and make some steps and make some connections, and we'll be glad to do that. Great question, though.
Okay.
Ladies, I'm sorry. If you have answers, I'm excited. I think, Pamela, you got me just all pumped up, right? So if you got to jump in, just take the mute off and jump into some questions. We want to hear your thoughts, not mine.
We have another question was, they wanted to know, who is this from? Let me read it. The salary ranges for those positions that Miss Dr. Prince had spoken about.
Would those be the ones that are currently available, the ones that are current with our agency?
Mr. Robert Bettis
Okay.
asked that question. Let's see if he's still on, and I will get him to. Mr. Bettis, are you there? He's there. Does he want to speak? So we do know, we spoke about the different type of positions that was available in the industry, and can you provide salary ranges for the list, but he did not speak. I'm gonna open it up so that he may. Robert Bettis. He's not speaking, and looks like I'm looking to see. He is here. Let me, okay, I'm unmute him.
And I can probably just go ahead and share that of the list that I shared, you saw on the screen. I listed positions that are currently filled and some that are vacant with our agency currently. So for each one, there's I guess a position description for each position. So there's a salary range for each one. So I would have to go back in and just pull all those positions for you to see the salary range for each one.
Mr. Bettis, you could unmute yourself. I allowed you, gave the permission to unmute.
He has no microphone. That's okay. I hope we answered your question, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Robert. Yeah.
But if he would like more information, I guess he could, if there's one in particular, like one, if he want to know more about what's open now, he could send that information to us, and we can give him more information about the position and the salary range.
And I can provide him with all the speakers' contact information. And Ms.
Foster has her hand up.
Yes, Ms. Foster.
Someone raised a question about summer jobs available for students. On the list of websites that I provided, there is a program called STIP-DIG, Summer Internships for Diverse Groups. That is a program for summer internships for students, for college students. It's a very good program. It's a paid internship over the summer months. And it's a very good program. So I suggest to whoever asks that question, if it's college students, you may want to make sure you click on that website for STIP-DIG and get some information there. Also, Federal Highway and SCDOT offers a summer transportation internship program for high school students. So you can have your students, if they're high school students, check with their guidance counselors to see where in the state they're offering summer internship programs for summer transportation intern. It's called STI, Summer Transportation Internships.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Hebrew Dixon, you stated you would answer Adriana Holt's question.
I sure can. The question was for all those that may not see that. I understand that there are many careers in transportation right now for women and girls. What are the parallel opportunities, right? If any, for businesses to trailblaze and opportunities as well. In other words, how do businesses get to make a difference in transportation in a certified DBE? Wow, what a great question. You know, and the answer is going to be very short. We're going to drill down that at another time. We talk about opportunities, but let me say this. The transportation bill, as I talked about, and also the opportunities in transportation in South Carolina are available for you. You can drill into those. They're an amazing website. And Mr. Davis's team is amazing. They'll be aggressive and they'll help you. And we'll be glad to do that as well. Ms. Beth, let's have a bar with Ms. Hope. And so we can drill into her specific issues. I think that's more of a consultation session. So Ms. Hope, let's hope you're open to that. And we'll be glad to sit and understand what you are, who you are, and then how we can kind of help you understand what your future could be, and perhaps even help you go through some doors as well. So we'd like to have that opportunity if you allow us.
Okay, I'll make sure I reach out to Ms. Holt, and she provide me with her. I have an email address already, and I will contact her regarding this.
Okay, I see your response. Thank you.
And our next, we enjoyed this, having our speakers with us. And our next session that we will be having webinars will be in January, a WITI Tennessee CEOs Roundtable Talk. And in February, we will have WITI South Carolina CEOs Roundtable Talk. We will have female entrepreneur CEOs speaking on their careers, opportunities, giving information about their path, their careers, how they got into businesses, how another person, female, can get into the business and have a business in the industry to take advantage of, as Ms. Foster stated, this is the time right now to benefit from that infrastructure bill.
Absolutely. So, and I don't know if there's other slides, but I want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Prince, Ms. Riley, and Mrs. Foster for the amazing rags you rang out, ladies. It's just always incredible to hear the stories. You know, I've known several of you for many, many years, and I've learned some things I didn't know, which is exciting. And we just appreciate your willingness to share. And we are prayerful that those that participated on the call receive some of that rain that waters the fertile ground. And for those that didn't get that direct, watering, if you will, they may know someone that can benefit from that. So we appreciate that. I want to also share with you that we are all here in support of the Department of Transportation, but we're so excited that we have a new director called Director Shelby Scales. She's an amazing human being. She's aggressive, and she's doing all she can in empowering her team to help us in the trenches. So we're just excited to have that spirit in Washington that we know and we have a kin relationship with as far as helping people. And so we're excited about what she's leading the team to be able to do for America, right? This is a huge deal. So we want to make sure that all you guys that are listening, and ladies, I say that, and we had that discussion yesterday, right? That my hope is that you get this and you think about it, but don't go to the next thing and just move forward. Figure out how this can add value to your lives or someone you care about. Understand that you have to get ready and stay ready as it relates to these opportunities. And know that the majority community, the prime community, they're ready. They've been watching this bill for a long time. They've invested in relationships to make this bill happen. So they're sitting back ready, willing, and able to go through any door that's available to them. So now we see the doors open, we see the opportunities on the table. So we got to think out the box. This is a huge deal. So you can't just take it like it's the same old project that's coming down the pipe, because it's going to be so much volume to have to be put in place in so quick a time that it's going to take a different kind of strategy for minorities and female businesses and those that want to get into the business of managing those agencies, as we just heard this afternoon, to be a part of. So we thank you again for your time. If there's any further questions, any questions?
Yes, we have one more further question.
One more. I'm sorry. What's the next question?
Mr. Terrence Jackson said, as a VOSB, veteran-owned small business.
Right.
And DBE business, how can I work with the VA hospital as a medical courier with a Sprinter van?
Yeah,
Also,
I saw that question. Thank you for reminding me. That's another opportunity to have a sidebar, because that's the veteran agency. And although that's not our lane, we'll be glad to help you figure that out, because there are some unique issues with transportation that relates to other agencies, right? That's the affairs, but one of our service opportunities are for veterans. So we'll be glad to have a sidebar, and Ms. Beth will be glad to help you set up that so we can drill down into that question in a more personal way.
And a Miss LaShonda Brown, I will reach out to you individually because she has questions also. She would like to know how to further assist with the initiative for some female youth groups.
All right, good deal. Yeah, because we want this, it's internship time, right? So we're gonna do interns. We're gonna hopefully get the record number of interns. Our expectations are high. We're gonna have a lot of young ladies in the intern role, as it relates to coming down in April or May, looking for great summer experiences for growth. So thank you all for your participation today.
And I will be emailing you all, everyone, the survey form so that you can guys let us know how we can further assist you in the future, other topics you'd like to hear, and continue working on making sure we assist women and girls in the transportation in industry and with that initiative. And I will provide our speakers' contact information also to you guys. And with that, our contact information is on the screen with Hebrew Dixon, since he spoke, was our project director. His email address is there. I am Ms. Beth Barner, and our website is www.msasbtrc.org. And we greatly are happy to have you guys here. We had a good showing, great showing, and our panelist speakers were great. And Ms. just encouraged us greatly to have the women to go into this career, as Joy and Ms. Pamela Foster and Dr. Prince said, we will rock that boat. Anything else, Hebrew? That's it. So goodbye, everyone. Is the end of the webinar, and you will hear from me via email with our survey and asking for any questions. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Stay blessed.